What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Hey. Welcome. Let me give everybody a hello before we get ready to dig into this. Oh, Lord have mercy. What's going on? Abby, you ain't seen the episode yet, child. I ain't looked at the second episode yet either. Child. I didn't even finish the first one. I just couldn't. Casting, what's up, T Mo? They ain't jumped right into it. Casting Todrick Hall, that's where they went wrong. Remove him from the cast and the show has a chance. Hey, cool gamer. Nah, Todrick isn't the problem. We're going by what's happening on the show. Diva Wan, hey, my love. Hey, Amir, Morgan, Demille, hello. That Dorian is a jack and why everyone is placating his bull is beyond me. Todrick, oh, Lord, they already in the chat. Todrick is the problem with the promotion of the show. He is not bad on the show. I'm loving Curtis. All right. Hey, everybody. Xavier, M Love Black. What's going on? So, for those who do not know, clearly from the people in the chat, y'all know what I'm talking about. But for those who do not know, the Real Housewives, Lord. The Real Friends of WeHo is a new show on MTV. It started last week. And we're on the second episode, but already in 2 weeks, it has been a lot of controversy. Well, actually, the controversy sort of started before the show aired, but it has been so much controversy, including a petition for it to be canceled. So let me start from the beginning and sort of work my way forward. Right, Amir. So let me start from the beginning and work our way forward. So I think in my opinion, the first mistake that was made was, I feel like, underestimating and oversimplifying your gay fan base. So here's what I mean by that. RuPaul's Drag Race moved from VH1 to MTV this year, which a lot of people were happy about. A lot of fans were happy about because we feel like, okay, MTV it maybe has the bigger platform, maybe blah, blah, right? I was excited to see it move to MTV, even though it's owned by the same company, but we know that MTV is the big brother to VH1. Like, that's just the reality, right? But here is the problem, in my opinion. You have RuPaul's Drag Race, which is in season 15. It is a staple. It has a very strong, very opinionated fan base. You have an after show, which they call Untucked, which the fans, since I think season 2, we've been having Untucked. Maybe even season 1, we've been having Untucked. The fans expect to see Untucked immediately after the show. There are certain things that the fans want to see within a RuPaul Drag Race show. Now, let me be clear. I don't care whether the show is 60 minutes or 90 minutes, as long as certain things that we're used to seeing, we get to see. But clearly, because of editing and because they've had to cut a 90-minute show, which is RuPaul's Drag Race, down to a 60-minute show, we're missing 30 minutes. And it's obvious that we're missing 30 minutes if you are a fan of RuPaul, right? Hey, everybody coming in. Hey. So here's the problem. I felt like the executives at MTV decided that they could just stick a gay show, sandwich it in between RuPaul's Drag Race and Untucked, and they assumed that the fan base would support it because, well, it's a gay show. We like gay shows. It's gay people. I really feel like that was part of the initial problem. Yes, Untucked comes on after the Real Friends of WeHo. So it's RuPaul's Drag Race, the Real Friends of WeHo, and then Untucked. So it's sandwiched in, and I think they assumed that people would stay and just watch it because, well, we want to see Untucked, so we'll sit through this. I think that was the first problem where they underestimated. I think they also felt like, well, Todrick Hall has been a regular has made regular appearances on RuPaul, so there's a fan base there that is interested or that will support Todrick. Here's where you guys had a problem. You underestimated Todrick's dislike, people's dislike for Todrick, I should say. And I think you felt like, oh, well, people are just going to support Todrick Hall. Not so much. Drag Race is the problem for the way they're editing the show. It wasn't always 90 minutes, and they got everything in the episode. I don't know. I don't know. I I don't know. I mean, I hear you, Abby. I don't know. Um, so in my opinion, that's the first problem. Okay. Now, here is the second problem, or part of the problems. We have heard different people speak out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring you guys. I have my articles that I've been collecting, right? So we have an article. I'm gonna start with the Dorian article. Dorian Renault. I hope I'm saying his name right, child. He did an interview with B Love Scott. Love B Scott. B Love Scott. Now I'm gonna say this. Some of what he said in this interview, I feel like maybe he has a point, and then other things that he said, I'm gonna have to call him out. So we're gonna read through the article, and then I'm gonna, y'all know me, I'm gonna give my commentary as we go along. Well, clearly not, Abby. People ain't hate watching Todrick, because I'm gonna get to the ratings in a minute. It ain't enough people hate watching Todrick, child. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was curious at first. I was like, let me see what Todrick talking about. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Dorian Renault was first introduced to us in 2008. Okay, let me get rid of that. On BET's College Hill Atlanta. Soon after, the Texas native saw great success as a model, gracing the pages of Vogue magazine, as a host on NBC's Extra, and as an anchor starring in Bounce TV's hit sitcom In the Cut. First of all, there's no such thing as a hit show on Bounce TV, because who the hell is watching Bounce TV? Moving on. In 2018, Renault launched his skincare line, Butter, providing Black men and women with attainable solutions to their pressing skincare concerns. The success of Butter, which has taken the skincare industry by storm, led to big box realtor Macy's carrying the full line. Fast forward to now, Dorian is giving reality TV another go and can now be seen on the new MTV series, The Real Housewives The Real Friends of WeHo. Why I want to keep saying Housewives. The series has not been warmly received online among the audience it is intended to reach. In an act of support for Real Friends, MTV made the choice to cut RuPaul's Drag Race down from a 90-minute episode each week to just 60 minutes, leaving Drag Race fans disgruntled with the shortened runtime. The show now features less of RuPaul's interactions with the queens, a shortened runway, and no judges' deliberations for the first time in show's history. The controversies don't stop there. Social media has had some pretty strong and sometimes brutal reactions to members of the Real Housewives cast, leaving the show to fight an uphill battle for success. We spoke with Dorian about his decision to join the show, his experience filming, and what's next for him. How did you get involved with the show? Dorian says, I was approached back in March of 2021. It was pitched to me as an A-list Los Angeles. It was supposed to be a reboot of the series, The A-List New York. I was told it was going to be docu-series style that followed me working on my brand and showing parts of my personal life. Also, I was told the show would be on the streaming service Paramount Plus. I initially said no several times, but I finally signed my contract at the last minute. Now, for those who do not know, the A-List is a show that came on Logo TV, as you can see right here, from October of 2010 to October of 2011. So it didn't last long. It was like one season or one and done, maybe a two season. But it was on the TV. It was on the channel Logo. That's important. We're going to get to that in a second. He says that he was originally told that this would be on Paramount Plus. I don't know why that makes a difference. Paramount Plus is a streaming service that people have to pay for. I feel like there are more people watching MTV, but Okay, let's talk. At the time, did you at least know who the other cast members were going to be? Dorian says, during the process of them courting me, production told me names of people who were being approached. Aside from Curtis Hamilton, who I've been friends with for a few years, I had no idea who was going to be on the show until filming. I was home filming stuff with Butter for 2 weeks before I even met the cast. Production was very tight lipped about who was on the show. Keep in mind, the whole time I'm thinking the show is still A-list Los Angeles. Multiple sources confirmed to us that the show was being pitched as a reboot featuring people in LA and the LGBTQ community, such as NSYNC member Lance Bass and his husband, as well as Riley Buss, the nephew of Jenny Buss, the controlling owner of the Washington LA Lakers. Several people who were contacted about the show say it was intended to be on Paramount Plus. Okay, so they confirmed that all of that's true. When did you learn the show's name changed and that it was going to be on MTV? I found out in the press release. We had no idea it was going to be on MTV and that it would take away from Drag Race. I watched Drag Race. I love Ru. He's iconic. Again, I was still under the impression that this was an A-list Los Angeles for Paramount Plus. So I was shocked to find out it was going to MTV. I didn't sign up for MTV. I also didn't see the poster beforehand. I saw it at the same time as everyone else, and that's where I had a serious issue. They promoted the show as 6 gay men living in West Hollywood who are friends. First, I don't even live in West Hollywood. I live in the Valley. I love the Valley. I never go to West Hollywood. I'm not in that scene. Aside from Curtis, I wasn't friends with any of the cast. I also have never confirmed or talked about my sexuality. I felt betrayed because they have me identifying as something I'm not. I'm Dorian Renault. Okay, so let me hold on. Let me come back to y'all for a second on that one. Sir, you acknowledge that you knew this was intended to be a reboot of the A-List New York, which was a show about gay men. It was on Logo, which was a gay network. That's where RuPaul started, right? Um, Back in the day, I mean, nowadays it's just a bunch of reruns, but back in the day, it was a primarily 99% of their programming was LGBTQ related in some way, shape, or form. Sir, there's no way you are going to convince me that you did not know that they were going to talk about your sexuality. No way. Nothing. No. Now I have my issues with some of the things that went down, but sir, that's not one of them. It's no way. It's no way. Now let me finish reading through this article, but we're not gonna let you have that one, sir. We're not. Lord, let me find it again. Where I put the article. Okay, there we go. The premiere episode ended with a conflict between you and cast member Joey. Can you explain what happened? He said, here's the thing. During the pandemic, I was home working. I really wasn't social during that time. Butter was my main focus. So that time period only amplified my anxiety. So here I am going into a scene with people I don't know. I'm at the event. My anxiety is kicking in, and I'm speaking with Curtis when this guy approaches. I was a little taken aback because I didn't know who he was. This was the first time meeting him. At one point in the scene, you can hear Dorian ask Curtis, is he on the cast? I say I didn't handle it. I can say I didn't handle it the best. Okay. Let me see. I think that's the main thing I wanted to bring up. Let me make sure. Okay. He says that he feels like there was a lot of dishonesty among production. He said it kind of happened to me on College Hill, but I was young and I didn't have a voice, but I do now. I addressed my concerns with the higher up and was basically told to be a happy camper and to promote the show, but I will not promote something that I'm not a part of. Wait a minute, tag on it. The thing keeps jumping, y'all. Sorry, hold on. But I will not. hold on. The page keeps jumping. Okay. But I refuse to promote something that I cannot stand behind. I tried to leave the show several times, but I couldn't. Now, here's a tweet from Chris Salvatore, who had a run in with Dorian, and he says, last year, 3 gays from a certain reality show refused to film with me for having an OF. So I was fired by production after filming for only a week. It's about all I can say for now. So that was tweeted out earlier this month. Um, he said, the question is, do you care to address any of the negativity surrounding the show? It's crazy we're getting no support. There are people saying the most negative stuff online. Some have gotten death threats, and we aren't getting any support from the network or production company. It's not the cast's fault that we ended up on MTV. I would not have signed on to the show if I knew the name changed, the theme of the show changing, and the network change. I don't feel comfortable representing a city community that I'm not a part of. Now, I don't know if he's saying he ain't a part of the LGBTQ community. I don't know. I don't know. Aside for the possibility, I think that was the main thing I wanted to tell you guys. So let me come back. All right. So we have that. Now, like I said, I am not going to give Dorian a pass. Now, I understand that you didn't know the name change. I even understand you didn't know the network change. I even understand that you thought it was going to be a different type of show. But, sir, for you to sit here and say you ain't know it was going to be an LGBTQ based reality show is just bull hockey. The fact that you claim that the only person on the show that you even knew that you were friends with is Curtis Hamilton, who spent the whole first part of episode 1 talking about coming out and him being afraid because nobody really knows that he's gay, and this is going to be his way of sort of coming out to the world because he really has only told his family and some close friends. The fact that there was a whole conversation with him and Issa Rae at the beginning of episode 1 and him talking about the fact that he's going to be coming out. The fact that you knew, you had to have known this if this is your only friend on the show, right? So that's what he out here talking about, okay? Then we have this interview or this article from Todrick Hall, child. Let me pull this one up. Todrick Hall interview, child. This is when Todrick Hall put his foot in his mouth when he started talking about Twitch, which nobody asked him for. Nobody asked him. Hold on, where'd it go? Oh, Lord. I just had it. Here it is right here. I'm about to say I just had the article. Okay. Shout out to the 50 people in the chat. Please hit the like button when you come in. Please and thank you. We are talking about the Real Friends of WeHo. Okay. So let's get into this article, child. Real Housewives of Potomac and Salt Lake City were both shows that were retooled into becoming housewives shows. This is typical in the reality TV world. I think they always were supposed to be housewives shows. I think that's just what the people doing the show were told. Personally. Okay. Let's look at this article, child. And then we're gonna talk about the ratings. Boom shakalaka. All right, let's get into it. Okay. All right. So the real Todrick Hall, who stars in The Real Friends of WeHo, reflected on criticism of the show on social media. Following the debut of his new series, the entertainer spoke about the LGBTQ plus community's response to the new MTV reality show on social media. I've been talking about the show and the response that the queer community has had at large about the show. And people keep saying people don't want to watch your show. Hall said in January 22 video posted to his Instagram story. I just want to clear a few things up. It's not my show. I'm not a producer. I didn't come up with the concept. It was a job to me. I had a great time. I love the guys. I had some great experiences. Sure. But not by giving the show a chance. The gym singer says people are actually missing out on his true message. Its true message. I'm not fighting for the show because I think the show needs to last for 64 seasons. I'm more just having a conversation about the fact that people are shutting the show off for not realizing that Bob the Drag Queen and Monet Exchange, who are beloved by the queer community and the Drag Race audience, are on the show. Sir, they're not stars. And so that's a reason why everybody's supposed to. Issa Rae, who is an Emmy award-winning, incredible Black advocate ally, is on the show. We have a Black man on television talking about his experiences and how even in his 30s, he's terrified of coming out. All of those stories are necessary. While Surviving Compton, Dr. Dre, blah, 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 Curtis Hamilton's coming out story is certainly a standout in the series premiere, a lot of the drama on the episode centers around why the cast, including Hall, Hamilton, and all the rest of these people, will want to be a part of a docuseries in the first place. A question that viewers are clearly not asking as well. Now asking as well. The 37-year-old shared his answer to that very question in a 4-page handwritten letter he posted on Instagram in response to the premiere's less than stellar views. After last night's premiere of The Real Friends of WeHo, I saw a lot of comments saying we don't want to see a bunch of rich, fit, entitled, privileged gay men. Which begs the question, why are we thrilled to watch rich Kardashians or Housewives, but we only want to watch gays be underdogs, not well off, not too confident? Let's get into the weeds. Real talk. Now that's a valid statement. I think that's a pretty good question. Hall further defended the series over its casting, noting that some of the complaints leveled against it are just as pervasive as other major reality franchises. Could our ensemble of 6 be more diverse? Absolutely. But this points to the bigger issue. There isn't a large pool of gay celebs to begin with. What? Sir, what? Did he just say there isn't a large pool of gay celebs? Sir, okay. They need to live in LA and be available, have time and a desire to do the show. Now that you put more filters on it, that's another conversation. But why don't we hold the Real Housewives to this standard? Is there even one city in the franchise that is as diverse as our cast is from its gigantic pool of women it can choose from? I would say yes. As for one of the biggest criticisms directed toward the show, coming in after RuPaul's Drag Race, which has been shortened for season 15, or before Untucked, queer audiences didn't support A-list Noah's Ark Fire Island Bros prom or Drag Race initially, he noted in the Instagram caption of his letter. They want 20 more minutes of the show, but instead of taking it up with programming people who made these timing decisions, they're attacking us as if we had something to do with it. I want longer drag race episodes as well, so we're on the same team. Either way, we have to know the queer people attacking our queer cast is not woke, not progressive, and not going to change the situation. So it's a waste of time. He said, y'all not going to get it canceled, so y'all might as well shut up. Wake up, people. We are smarter than this. Oh. So do we agree or disagree? Do we agree or disagree with what Mr. Hall said? First of all, let me say this. There was another quote he wrote in there where he kind of threw a jab. I feel like he threw a jab at Drag Race because he said we have to let people know that we can create more LGBTQ shows other than competition shows. And in my opinion, I feel like Drag Race is the only LGBTQ based competition show. So what you talking about? He's not wrong. Most of the cast are either all white or all black. The token sprinkles of black and white cast is sometimes embarrassing. I don't think the show needs to be diverse. The show needs to be segregated because it's obvious that these men would ever hang out with each other if they weren't filming. It's not the fact that they're rich or any of it. We are tired of you, Todrick. Ooh, G. Smith said that and she spelled that out with periods. Okay, we period are period tired period of period you period Todrick exclamation point. That is what G said. Okay, so also Dracula. Okay, you're right. Dracula. I've never watched Dracula. Um. So again, y'all, I'm not saying that I'm agreeing or disagreeing 100%. I know for me, I'm being fair. I have only watched one episode, so I have an opinion based on the one episode. But that's it is what it is. Now, what I'm gonna say about the RuPaul thing is, I understand what Ebby said earlier, but here's the problem: when you get used to certain things and then those things are gone, then you have a problem. Then it becomes an issue. So we're used, like for Snatch Game, we didn't get any walkthrough from Ru. And I think that's something I enjoy. I enjoy hearing Ru talk people through their characters for Snatch Game, talk them out of a character, tell them how to be more funny, seeing people trying to impress Ru. Like, I'm missing that. I could probably, I don't care about the judges' deliberations because I could kind of, I mean, they kind of say what they need to say when the people are on the runway. So the deliberations don't bother me as much. But I also kind of missing the mini challenges too. So I can see, like, yes, the show didn't always used to be 90 minutes long. I don't know. That's too long for me to go back and think. But I would say at least the last 7 or 8 seasons have been. So for us to go back, it is hard for people to go back, right? Now let's look at the ratings, the Nielsen ratings. Okay, let's look at the ratings. Because of you. Because of you. But again, Abby, I think that because it was edited down, we usually get more of the reading challenge. It was edited down. So, first of all, let me start from the beginning of that, because Abby said that they could have kept the reading challenge. I thought the reading challenge was okay, but I also feel like, once again, it was edited. But I'm gonna say this crop of girls as a whole, I'm not impressed with. So I don't think I'm going to be impressed with pretty much anything they do this season, because I just don't see. Let me say this. I don't want this to turn into a drag race conversation, but let me say this, and then we're going to go back. I feel like we are looking at a season like the first 5 years of Drag Race. And what I mean by that is, and I'm okay with that from a certain extent, but I think the problem is, we have seen for the last 7 or 8 seasons, we have seen so much elevation of drag. Not everybody. I'm not saying everybody that's been on the show in the last 10 years has been elevated, but there has been some very polished, very elevated queens. This season, I feel like we're looking at queens who haven't been doing it that long by their own admission. They haven't been doing it that long. And they're not as polished. And I think it shows. I haven't really been impressed with a lot of what I've seen this season. I mean, from every angle. The Snatch Game, the reading challenge, the sewing challenge, the acting, I just haven't been impressed. But that's a drag race conversation, and I'll save it for drag race. Let's look at these ratings, okay? Okay, let's look at these ratings. The Real Friends of WeHo bombs and ratings. People tune out after RuPaul's Drag Race. The Real Friends of WeHo is making no friends on TV. The Nielsen ratings report showed that the MTV series bombed in viewership even when with it sandwiched between the ever-popular Drag Race and Untucked. As reported, a boost from the Real Friends premiere managed to hold on to just 29% of Drag Race viewership with 186,000 viewers and a 0.03 share of the night. MTV hoped it would make the series show together a destination night for gay viewers, but Real Friends turned out to be a real dud. Drag Race, however, soared with 578,000 viewers, making it the sixth most popular show on cable for the night and giving it a 0.14 share for the night. So here's a tweet. Drag Race had 578,000 viewers. Real Friends of WeHo had 186 viewers. Untucked had 214 viewers. Y'all really turned that shit off and turned it back on for Untucked. Ciao. Untucked clocked around. Okay, I just read that. What's more damning is that clips started to pop up around social media showing Drag Race viewing parties erupting in cheers as they turned the TV off on Real Friends. In an act of support for Real Friends, MTV made the choice to cut Drag Race. Okay, we didn't talk that. We didn't talk that to death. Disgruntled Drag Race fans took to Twitter to voice their frustrations about the pace and point the finger at Real Friends. In response, Todrick Hall says, "Fun fact. The average annual earnings for gay men in the U.S. is $59,000 compared to $57,000 for straight men. What the hell does that mean? We are successful and work hard, and we deserve to see ourselves thriving on TV." Oh, okay. Okay. Let me come back, y'all. So about half of the RuPaul's audience waited until WeHo to be over and then came back for Untucked, y'all. That is hilarious to me. I do agree with Todrick. It's not the WeHo show's fault. MTV cut RuPaul. I agree. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. All these numbers seem low to me. Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm no Nielsen. I'm no Nielsen. I don't study the Nielsen rating, so I don't know what's considered good or bad. But I feel like for a Friday night, I don't know. Yeah, the last time I watched Logo, last June during Pride, they had a and I don't even know if it was original or if they just picked it up from Sundance or something and showed it. But they had a 5-part series, documentary like on the history of the LGBT community, so to speak. They started like part one was the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s, the 1990s. So there's that 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah, it ended in the 1990s. And it sort of traced the evolution of LGBTQ rights in this country. And it started in the 1950s. And it was really, really, really good. And it talked about, how people had to be, in secret and, when you worked for the government, and it was good. And they had real stories and real people telling their stories. And of course, it went all the way through the 1990s. It ended in the 2000s. Of course, it went through the AIDS epidemic and Stonewall and trans rights and stuff like that. It was really good. But like I said, I can't even say that was an original programming or that Logo just showed it. Like it might have been created and it was at Sundance or something else, and then they just picked it up to show it. I don't know, but it was good. It was really, really good. All I know is I miss Noah's Ark, child. Yeah, we miss Noah's Ark. Yeah, and it is based on a Nielsen box. If you have a Nielsen box on your TV, but yeah. So my thing is this: I'm gonna be honest with y'all, and I'm gonna tell y'all this. I'm not gonna put it all on Todrick Hall because I'm not gonna blame Todrick Hall for the whole ship sinking. I think that, like I said at the beginning, in my opinion, I think part of the problem is that MTV underestimated the LGBT community. Hey, Nay, I feel like they just thought, well, if we just put a gay show on in between two gay shows, then all the gays are going to watch it. And I think that they just ran with that. Honestly, they did have a couple of notable names that I think they thought would bring it in. I mean, you have a black man who's literally coming out on the show, but I don't think they're playing that up enough. Well, I guess they did. I mean, they did kind of play it up. You definitely have a controversial figure like Todrick Hall, who I'm sure the only reason why he did the show was to try to clear his name, because that's the first thing he did was try to explain away a lot of the things about him. Of course, he showed the deed saying that he owned the house, showing the deed to the house. Now we didn't see the deed, but Monet and Bob saw the deed, child. He showed the flyer showing that his hips thigh, whatever that video was, that it was unpaid, so the people complaining about being paid. But Todrick, you conveniently left out a whole lot of that situation, but that's neither here nor there. We have the Brad guy, who I don't know who he is, but it seemed like other people knew who he was, right? And then you had the guy Joey, I think, who is an influencer and married to a famous actor. So there was star power there. So I'm not going to put all of this on Todrick. And the show did not revolve around Todrick. I think, at least the first episode I saw, I think they did a good job of balancing, showing a little bit of everybody, right? I just think that if you wanted the support of the RuPaul's Drag Race fans, and again, WeHo had no control over this, right? This was an executive decision. But if you wanted the support of the Drag Race fans, which is what you wanted, because you sandwiched the show in between the two Drag Race shows, which means you wanted the fan support, then it probably wasn't a good idea to cut the show down. And I know people like Abby are like, well, it was 60 minutes, but again, once you get somebody used to something, then you take it away, it's noticeable. If I never had it, it's not a big deal. If I never saw these things, it wasn't a big deal. But now we see where you've taken away from the show. And again, we know that there are very polarizing Drag Race fans. Now, I'm not one of them. Abby's not one of them. Xavier's not one of them. And the other fans in the chat. But y'all know, like I know, like there are Drag Race fans out here getting people's Instagram. They done shut down Mistress's Twitter, child, because she said something bad about one of their favorites, and they done got the girl's Twitter shut down. So we know how rabid these RuPaul's Drag Race fans are. And I feel like RuPaul probably tried to tell them, like, this ain't a good idea. You might not want to do that. And I feel like that's the only reason why they moved Drag Race over to MTV, to try to usher this show in. But the problem is you can't knock me in the head and then tell me you want my support. And that's kind of what they did. You took away from the very people that you wanted support from. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But that's my opinion. I really feel like that's really a large part of this. Had the show stayed 90 minutes, do I think that the show would have been an instant hit? No, I'm still not saying the show would have been an instant hit. But if you had not knocked over the head of the RuPaul girls fans, then I feel like you would have had a better starting point than where you were. That's my opinion. You know what, Amir, that would have been a good idea too. Maybe in that particular episode, maybe you know would have been perfect. Last week was Snatch Game. Why not make them the judges? Why not have them come and film as judges on Snatch Game? And then you could advertise, because RuPaul is good for throwing some advertisement on her show. Everything on her show is sponsored. And RuPaul is good for throwing in a sponsor plug. So that's actually a really good idea. They could have, kept the whole 90-minute episode, and then you could have had them on the show. Or what was the episode before that when they did the infomercials? Maybe you could have had them. You good for having Todrick come in and do the choreography. You could have had Todrick do something. Like, you really could have had them on the show. That would right. Abby said that Brad's been a judge before. We know Todrick's been on the show before. I just feel like that's a good suggestion. They absolutely could have done that. You could have had them on, and then what you could have done was you could have had them on Untucked. You know how they always go behind, the judges go now on Untucked, the judges go backstage and talk to the ladies. You could have had and it didn't even have to be the whole cast, right? It could have been 3 or 4 of the cast. You could have had them go back and talk to the girls backstage during Untucked, and then it would have been a great way. Now that was a good idea. See, they be asking the wrong people for stuff. Well, you know what? You're right. Todrick probably did burn that bridge, but they didn't have to invite Todrick. They could have invited Curtis. They could have invited Dorian. They could have invited Brad back, Joey. They didn't have to invite Todrick and at all. But you're right. Todrick and Carson probably ain't gonna never be on RuPaul at the same time again, child. Yeah, you're right about that. The other ones could have gone through. That would be great. They need to make the tribe executives at MTV. I know, right? Todrick loves to burn bridges. He sure does. I mean, and honestly, I do think that part of that, because here's the thing, and like Abby did say this from the beginning, and she's not wrong. There are going to be people who are going to watch the show just so they can hate on Todrick, just so they can talk about how much they hate Todrick Hall. So you are going to get the hate views. You are going to get the hate views. But the reality of the situation is I and people love a villain. They're editing Dorian to be the villain. And I'm not saying he's not really an ass in real life. That's not what I'm saying. But he's definitely getting the villain edit, right? But people already hate Todrick. So play it up. I don't know. Do I think the show is going to last? It could get better. It could definitely get better. People could get used to it. People don't like change. But once they realize maybe ain't nothing gonna change, you know what I'm saying? MTV ain't changing nothing. This is what it is. Maybe, it's gonna stay, it ain't going nowhere. Maybe it's not gonna go anywhere. But the reality of the situation is, um, for now, it is what it is. Nah, you got to watch the new episode. The gaslighting on behalf of Dorian is stupid. Todd is a problem child. Wait a minute. You said the gaslighting on behalf of Dorian is stupid. Okay, Abby's gonna make me watch it. Okay, Xavier said it. Okay, now I gotta watch episode 2. But yeah, in the first episode, he got, in my opinion, and again, I'm not saying he wasn't being a jerk, but I'm saying, y'all, listen, let's not act like we don't know what the formula is for a reality show. Somebody has to get the villain edit. That doesn't mean they aren't being a villain. That doesn't mean they aren't being a jerk. But somebody's got to get the edit. Now, some people make it easier than others, but somebody's got to get the villain edit, right? So anyway, this was just meant to be a little quick chat, y'all. I told y'all we was gonna break this down because I just kept seeing Real House. I mean, I keep saying Real Housewives, Real Friends of WeHo. I keep seeing all these different articles and comments and people saying stuff and the drag race folk coming for. So I keep seeing it. Boom, 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 boom. So I just thought I'd come down here and talk to y'all about it. It's 79 people in the chat. I'm about to put a vote. I'm about to put a vote in the chat. Yeah, it's gonna be a vote in the chat, and I'm gonna go with who wins. Actually, no, I'm not. Kenya got the villain edit for 9 years and last season became very likable. I like the show so far, but we do need to tweak it a bit. Let's see how the friends of the cast add to the show. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going to say that I absolutely hated the show. I just decided I wasn't going to review it because it didn't give me enough that I felt like talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, in order for me to review a show, I have to want to talk about something, and that just didn't get enough of what I wanted to talk about. It just didn't give me enough to say. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna say we won't talk about things that happen on the show, but a week to week review, probably not. So, all right, y'all, we'll be back for the Real Housewives of Potomac review after the show around 9:15 ish. 9:15 ish. On Tuesday, I will be interviewing Oliver Twixt from The Circle. We will be here on Tuesday at 6:30. So make sure that you guys are in the place 6:30 on Tuesday. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you again. I'm about to get out of here, you guys. I'm about to make my dinner, and I will talk to y'all later. Mwah.